Hello, students. Today we will be working with probability. Let's read this problem together. Kaylee has a box of jelly beans with 5 red, 3 orange, 5 purple, and 7 green jelly beans. A jelly bean is drawn from the box and replaced 80 times. What is a possible number of times an orange jelly bean will be drawn? So let's underline or box in that important question. So notice that in our cube strategy, we always want to make sure to circle or underline our important information. We've highlighted it. We then want to box in our question. So what is a possible number of times an orange jelly bean will be drawn? And in the question, I think some of the important pieces of information is what is a possible number of times an orange jelly bean will be drawn. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a proportion box since we are being asked to get a prediction, right? Because we're going to do this 80 times. So let's go ahead and make that proportion box. In the question, they're telling us that the outcome that we want, the favorable outcome, is orange jelly bean. So that will go on top. The total will always go in the bottom. So if we look at the jelly beans that we have 5 red, 3 orange, 5 purple, and 7 green. So the ones that we want, or the favorable ones, are the orange ones. And so we will put 3 here. Then we need the total. So we have 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7. So that's going to be 10, and 5 is 15, and another 5 is 20. So this is going to be 20. Okay, so now we're going to look at the other piece of information that we were given, and it said, what will happen? A jelly bean is drawn from the box and replaced 80 times. So 80 is going to be the total number of times that we draw the jelly bean, and we want to know how many of those draws will come up with an orange jelly bean. Okay, so now we can set up our proportion. Okay, so let's do this in a couple of different ways that we have been talking about. So one of the ways is to look at your proportion box and see if you can see a relationship, a factor, something that we can multiply or divide by. So here I can see that 20 times 4 is 80. So that would be 3 times 4. That's the same relationship. So if we multiply by 4 in the bottom, we can multiply by 4 at the top, and that'll give us x. So x would equal 3 times 4, 12. Okay, so that's one way. Another way is if we actually use the cross products from this proportion. So I can set up the proportion here from my box. 3 out of 20 is equal to x over 80. And I've used my cross products. So 20 times x is 20x. And that will be equal to 3 times 80, which would be 240. So now we would divide by the coefficient 20. And in an equation, whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So 20 divided by 20 is 1, so we have x equals, and then 240 divided by 20, we can divide both of them by 10, and that would eliminate these zeros, and then 24 divided by 2 is 12. So we'll get 12. Now another way, and if you look at your foldables, this was discussed in your foldables, is we can find the probability of selecting an orange jelly bean like we did here. So we found out that 3 out of 20 is the probability of selecting orange. And so that was the probability of selecting out one orange. But since they're going to do this 80 times, we can multiply by 80. Okay, and that means we would have to put 80 over 1 to make it into a fraction, so we can multiply across. And then we would simply just multiply across 3 times 80, and we would get 240. And then we would multiply across 20 times 1, and that would give us 20. And then we end up with the same thing. We can divide both of these by 10. And if we do that, that would give us 24 divided by 2, which is equal to 12. So we have 3 different ways. Find the one that's best for you. And also it depends on the problem. In some problems, one way maybe will work better than another. So it is always good to have multiple ways to solve the problem. So we solved it 3 different ways, and all 3 times we got 12. So the correct answer for this question, which was what is a possible number of times an orange jelly bean will be drawn? It is B, 12.